Hello, delicious people, and welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations with a new old friend. I would say she's new to me, but we have so many things, backgrounds in common. It's going to be a delicious conversation. And I love saying her name, Alessandra Segredo.
Yes.
And yet she's from this little small place in British Columbia, very close to where I grew up, but a very small place in British Columbia. So we're going to get to know more about that. Also, SoulPhoria.ca is her site. That'll all be in the show notes. But let me tell you about her. It is certainly not unusual to have the origin story of a book founded on overcoming challenges. Alessandra's story, however, is quite unique, as is the solution arrived at for leading a powerful, fulfilling life connected to all aspects of what is generally accepted to make the human experience, namely on the physical, emotional, and spiritual levels. She grew up as an adopted Black bisexual female mystic in a household of strict Salvation Army ministers. Mm-hmm. That sentence is very packed. Leaving an abusive marriage and going through divorce and subsequent bankruptcy, only to face a walnut-sized, inoperable tumor growing inside of her brain. Mm-hmm. These are just some of the things that has made who she is today at the age of 44, completely healthy, free, and living a life of bliss. Throughout her life, she's lived a dichotomy of two worlds, one of business as a high-level corporate consultant and successful business owner, and one of spiritual explorer, mystic, and teacher. And she has been privileged to touch thousands of lives over the years as a recording artist of guided meditations, a public speaker, and course creator and retreat leader. And along the way, creating a new system of approaching spirituality in a way that some have called paradigm shift. So we are here to
I love the drum roll.
Oh, good. So holy shit, Alessandra. That's a bio if I've ever read a bio. Wow. And we just want to put a nice shout out to Dave Woods, who has introduced us. Dear friend, and blessings to him. Mm-hmm. So you reached out to connect so that I could get to know you better and share with the world what you're about. So where would you like to begin? I'd like to, we could begin anywhere. Where are you?
Well, I'm predominantly hoping to share my book, SoulPhoria, yes, which is the website, which is the book. So I'd love to talk a little bit about the origin of that and how that came to be, because I think right now in people's lives, the requirement for resilience is becoming so apparent and so strong that I think it's time for them to be able to experience this. So
stunning. So how did you come up with the title first? SoulPhoria.
Yes. Euphoria. Well, actually, there's an interesting resilience story with this. I had finished the book and had found a publisher not long after I finished my first round of chemo. And then last year, I was re-diagnosed again with another brain tumor. And I had to go through another round of chemo. And just as I was starting this next round of chemo, I actually received a trademark notification that the original name for the book, which had been Soulgasms, I wasn't allowed to use. So then I had to come up with a brand new name, come up with a brand new cover and everything, and kind of felt like I was starting over. But at the end of the day, I love this name better. I feel like it's more suitable, and it's just another example of resilience, of sometimes when you feel like everything is crumbling down on you, how do you pick yourself up to be able to deal with it?
Thank you. How did you? I mean, yes, there was that circumstantial shift, but like what happened inside of your soul? I mean, you're physically going through the chemo. It's not looking good. What's that next thing you did that began to build the resilience?
I think a lot of mine stems from my original practice of simply just being in touch with myself and meditation, and also learning to try not to project too far forward, because I've really learned that when we project forward, we often will create the worst possible future. We'll picture the worst possible future, but that doesn't mean that's going to happen, because we tend to be in a worry state. And so I've kind of taught myself, what if I waste all this time? Like if I'm already concerned about what's going to happen next Friday, and I'm spending all this time worrying about that, what if I waste the time in between next Friday and this Friday, and nothing actually bad happens? I've wasted this whole week. And so I've started to look at life and more, I started calling it the moments in between, just enjoying the moments in between the stresses. And that's really helped me push through. And also just really believing that there's more out there, that if there's changes happening, there's probably a reason. And sometimes I think when we embrace them, we can actually elevate the end result beyond what we had hoped or expected from the original.
This is a really great point of view. Yeah. When we're stuck in the conclusion that it's got to look a certain way,
yes,
and it doesn't, and then I'm wrong. And then the what if, all the bad what ifs, not all the good what ifs, but all the bad.
Of course. And that's what I mean. And then you can obsess about that. Like so for me right now, I'm going every 3 months, I have to go for a new MRI just to make sure everything is still clear.
Yeah.
And so I could either obsess for the next 3 months and lose the next 3 months of my life obsessing over what the next MRI will look like, or I can just choose to live it. Because if it comes out bad, then I have to deal with it then. But if it doesn't, then I'll have lost that time. So either way, it's just better really back to being in the moment and trying to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not an easy lesson though. That's not an easy
No. Did you ever on this journey, and I'm not exactly sure, so was it the chemo that you say is responsible for healing it? There's got to be more if your book is friggin' called SoulPhoria. There's some magic in there that tell us that journey.
I think that there is a true balance between modern medicine and mysticism or mystic medicine, shamanic medicine. I believe that when you bring those two together, you allow your system to really work in empowerment. And so the chemo, I will never say the chemo didn't do anything and my doctors weren't amazing, because they were. And then the chemo definitely did something. But I do also think that every day I would talk to my body. Not once during my chemo did I get sick. I didn't have any side effects. I didn't have anything like that.
Yeah.
And so, and I've just finished my chemo about 3 months ago. So,
wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Cause I'm like, look at your gorgeous hair and you don't look like the average person that's had chemo. I, over the years, like I've been a dancer and still am a dancer, just not paid to be a dancer anymore. But I love, like, my body is, I guess, my best friend, my soul, right? Oneness inside. But speaking to my body down to like, what do you want to wear for the interview with Alessandra? We got to get this on your earphones. She feels fine. And I hadn't even met you yet, right? In the body, what do you want to eat?
Yes.
Who would you like to sleep with?
Yes.
Where do you want to live?
Yes.
And then the tougher questions are why are you here in the form of a tumor in my brain? What did your body say?
Well, I didn't actually ask it specifically that. What I would do is I would go through and I would talk to each organ. Like every organ in my body has a personality. So I feel like the kidneys are like two little girls giggling together. My liver can be kind of a grumpy old man at times. And so they all have these different personalities. And so I will go through and I will connect with each one. But when I was first diagnosed the first time, I really tried to take the approach of not going to war with my system, because I didn't feel like that, the fuck cancer concept. I understand it, but I would not feed it, because I don't believe that it helps you to heal yourself the same way. I feel like you have to almost find the balance and make amends with your system and allow it to feel loved and safe and held. And that was really my focus, was to, and I agree with you. My body is, part 2 of my book is called Embodying the Soul, because it's all about the fact that, just because we might be spirits, that does not mean that our bodies don't count and that they're a secondary component to our existence. I believe that we came to have this tactile experience, to be able to hug and touch and eat and have these sensual experiences, right? And once we start to actually embody the soul and allow the soul to experience out through our physical form, that's where we really start to find differences in life.
Shivers are happening as you're saying this. I'm so much about embodiment. The work I do with intimacy, Alessandra, intimacy with self. Can we be connected to our little wobbly self, our magnificent self, our scared self, our triumphant self, all these inner relationships that to me happen inside the body. And I can be home with myself no matter how I'm feeling.
Yes.
From the elation to the depression, right? To be embodied and not just 10 more affirmations in my head.
No.
I'm cancer free. I'm cancer free.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So we're on the same page here. So tell us more, because I'm getting shivers as you talk about it. The soul embodiment.
So with the soul embodiment, again, my whole real book is really about loving yourself, starting a love affair with yourself and with your soul, so that you can experience life through the soul, which is what I think we've come to do instead of through just the mind. And it's not about detaching from any aspect of yourself. So it's not about detaching from the body or the ego. It's about embracing that these are all aspects that we've created to exist through.
Yes.
So with embodying the soul, it's all about finding your connection to your physical while also being able to almost let go of it. I'm trying to think of, I'm picturing body movement, because in there I talk about, so I talk about, the fact that like meditation and everything, right? We are taught to sit and to shut everything off. Why? So one of the things that my thing is that meditation can be movement. I mean, you can close your eyes and you can trance out and you can feel the energy of yourself and your soul, and you will connect so differently into yourself that way. And so I think that's one of the main aspects in there.
I like this.
I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah, it's all good. Who cares? We're just going to talk. It's all good.
Okay, good.
So I've been a dancer since I was 5, a professional dancer. And even now, once a week, I have my gal and she's on Zoom, and I just lay on the ground. I got a nice fuzzy blanket, and it's my gift to myself at the end of every week to feel what I haven't slowed down to really feel.
Yes.
And to the point where, and I don't think there's ever, and I've been doing this class with her for 10 years probably, that I don't just have a little cry. There's just something that I've just pushed down and just pushed through. So I normally start with a cry. And then I'm pretty much pissed about something. So I feel my frustration.
Everything.
But then as I do it through my body and through my heart, the anger turns into fierce love, and then empowerment and bliss. And at the end, it's just yummy and sweet. And I love, I don't know about you, but with movement, the brain can do the steps, right? I was trained as a ballet dancer. Okay. But this is the opposite. This is, universe, have your way with my hand, have your way with my shoulder, and surrendering over.
Speaking through you.
Tell us your view of that. Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to jump to the next chapter, which ties into this one. Okay. So the book is almost like a journey. It's almost like a pathway through to SoulPhoria. So I'm going to quickly walk through the different parts, and then, sorry, I don't mean to hijack.
No. Dude, it's all good.
Okay. Yes. So the first part of the book is called Flirtation of the Cosmos. And this is where we start to actually connect in with our different ancestral energy, the elements. And in there, I actually talk about the fact that you can embody the elements. So this is what triggered my thought around it, is the fact that, if it's raining outside, go outside and dance in the rain and experience the feeling of water, that element and that nurturing energy. And then the fire, you can put on a fire and dance with that and feel that passion and that buildup of, and you can use that in your manifestation. So there's so many amazing things around us. So from Flirtation of the Cosmos, we go to Embodying the Soul, which is what we just spoke about. And then from there, we go into the spiritual striptease. And this is where I'm showing people, I'm attempting to guide people. And so every part of the book has a teaching and then practices. So every part has actual teaching as well as things they can apply, because it's really important to me that people get an actual practical experience from this.
Yeah.
So the spiritual striptease talks about discovering the layers of ourselves, the masks we put on. So for example, I was raised in a religious household. So I had a lot of different taboo thoughts in my head of, what was allowed and what wasn't allowed, and what made you a good person, what made you a bad person. Yeah. And so discovering these different layers that we put on and learning how to strip them off. And then from there, we move to the sublimely naked soul, because we're so often taught
chapter titles, woman. I'm liking this.
So because we're taught so often how to remove these aspects of ourselves, but we're not taught how to be proud in the new naked form that we encompass, that we become and embrace. Because when you actually strip off those layers, your relationships around you will change. People will change because you've changed. Yes. And so you need to be able to remain confident and strong in that sublimely nude aspect of your soul self. Yeah. And then from there, we go into discovering, becoming a mistress of mysticism. And in this chapter, I talk a little bit about, mystic components, as well as I talk about encompassing and becoming and working with your child side and your teen side and your woman side, because they're all aspects of a goddess. Because so often we think of a goddess, we'll think of a goddess as, we always picture a woman. We never picture the child or the teen. And yet those are core components of who we are. And when we learn to actually pull them into different situations, we can apply their knowledge differently than we could apply our adult knowledge, which allows us to do a lot more problem solving and decision making in a vaster way. So
I'm reminded, and what's it called? It's an oracle deck, and it's something about the sacred
rebels,
and it's got
yes,
like the crone in the middle and the child.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
Same.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love this. Is there another chapter, or these are chapters?
The last one is SoulPhoria. So this is just finding your way to SoulPhoria and experiencing it.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wow. So from living in the very spiritual upbringing to where you are now, tell us what your life looks like. Are you a parent, or are you in a relationship, and how have these chapters supported you in being in relationship or relationships that really are aligned with your soul?
Well, I have an amazing husband, and he was really my inspiration partially for writing the book. He's the one who kind of gave me the space to be able to really step into that aspect of myself in a safe way. So I'm very grateful and very thankful for that. I am a mother, but I am actually not really involved in my son's life right now. So that has kind of been, I've had to allow him his space. He's a teenager and he's kind of in his own little world. And so I'm trying to allow him to have his space while he discovers what he needs to be. And
wow, we're very similar. I don't know if David told you, my son's I haven't spoken to him in 2.5 years. He's his dad ever since COVID hit. And that was that.
That's the same with me. Yeah.
Wow. How do you be with that? Because to me, I've had to integrate a lot of, well, you're not a good mother. You failed at motherhood, and not to have bitterness towards him or me, not to be a victim, and to really, I chose to allow him to choose his highest path and find his way. It was his choice, right? I could have fought it. I could have controlled him. I could have said, no, you're still mine legally and you're gonna do it my way. But I thought, no, he knows what he's doing.
I think for me, I made decisions based on how could I be the best representation for him of the kind of person I'd hope he'd be able to be. I want him to have the courage that I would have had. If I have to make tough decisions, I want him to see those tough decisions and to be able to learn from the fact that, if she's strong enough to do it, maybe I'll be strong enough one day. So, that's kind of how I've dealt with it. It's not easy though. It's definitely it's heartbreaking in some ways. So
yeah, I gave myself permission on Mother's Day. I don't think I'm probably doing a little bit of suppressing or a little bit of spiritual bypassing, because it's an open gaping wound that is just there every day.
Sometimes you have to give it time to, maybe it's not time to be poking at the wound.
Yeah. Thank you. So I just, I've had cries from time to time, and I soothe myself and I move on and I send him blessings and I integrate. But this last Mother's Day, I really let myself feel more, and not feel to feel better. Not the whole process in order to finally be at, like, no agenda.
Grief.
Just feel. Yeah. Feel. Yeah. It was ugly cry.
But I'm sure it was a beautiful release though.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, good. I literally not locked, but I went into the closet. There's a big mirror, and I put a candle on the suitcase, and I brought in a bottle of Prosecco, and I just looked in my eyes, and I was just being with myself. Yeah, I was just being with myself. And I just cried. I think I was in there for 4 hours crying.
Wow. That's beautiful though.
I had waited 2.5 years to have that cry. The whole, everything that had been storing up in there, and not with an outcome in mind. Normally I have an outcome in mind.
Well, and I think that is the hardest part, is when you're dealing with someone you love and they need their space and you have to let them go, that love has to give it enough space, and without us focusing on the outcome, because that's the biggest challenge, is that sense of control, the loss of it. So
yeah. Well, I didn't know we had that in common too. So this is amazing. So your beautiful bio says there's this very business side to you and the very spiritual side. Are you still very much in the business world, rocking it there as well?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I work as a fractional CMO. So my husband and I also have a consulting company for marketing. And so I often outsource as a fractional CMO. So
nice. Oh, yeah. This is amazing. What is your delight, your joy, your vision with this book? What do you hope it does? Are you looking for to lead retreats or do a podcast around this? Or
I honestly just want to see masses of people's lives lighten. I want to see the world become sunnier with brightness and just happiness. I'm just hoping it just brings joy, really. I'd like to be able to write more books. So that's one of the things I would like to be able to do, and, you know, maybe host a retreat here or there or do some workshops. But my real thing is, I love sharing this with people because I feel like we could all benefit from it. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love your, you seem to have embraced your sexuality with the name like spiritual striptease and sublime nakedness and the rest of it. And to me, it's been very important to talk about the sacredness of sexuality, which is not how I was raised. When I first moved to Japan in my 20s, I didn't tell my parents that I was in a topless show. And I was learning from all these women, like from Paris and or Australia, and it just had a different upbringing around the beauty,
freedom,
and the artwork that is our body itself and the sacredness of it. And they taught me so much. But I still, when I returned, I didn't return to Canada, I returned to the States, but it was still, oh, what kind of dancer? And I just inundated with this next level. And I love the sacredness of sexuality. And I believe that energy that we were speaking of in the meditation, when we can have this energy in, as, and through us, we're co-creating with the divine.
Yes. And it's something else. I speak to the concept of meditation, masturbation as meditation, because I think that there is definitely an energy that we can use to really connect into ourselves. And also on that release, if you can have that orgasmic release, then you can actually send that out and direct it into your goals and your dreams, or just into the world, just for joy. But I mean, I think it's a beautiful part. I think sexuality is a core to our being. It really is. And when we can absorb and savor that energy, then that really can make our lives lighter and more beautiful.
Yeah. Well, how did you discover that, or shift your point of view, or integrate the difference between the upbringing to where you are now? How did you figure this out and live it?
I was always kind of a rebel. So, I mean, that was always a part of me. My sexuality, I discovered I was bisexual quite young. So I was quite young when I actually discovered that aspect of myself and had my first experiences. And so, you know, that just kind of opened me up differently. Because you know what, that side of me drove me so much that it wouldn't really matter what my parents were telling me that is wrong, or they would never, my parents actually never know. If my mom ever sees this, she'll know now. Hi, Mom. But yeah, no, they never knew that. But I mean, it was just a side of myself that I couldn't deny. I guess maybe I was lucky enough to create a forum where I stuck that little nugget into myself of, you're not going to deny your sexuality.
Thank you. So how, if it's okay to ask, how does your relationship work with your husband if you're bisexual, and how does the communication work and the partnership works, or how does it all work for you?
He's completely open with me dating other women. So he is completely encouraging, actually, because he knows it's such an important aspect of myself that he is fine with that. We don't actually have an open relationship, but for myself with dating women, it's not an issue. So I will sometimes go meet different people and explore that side and enjoy myself.
Wow. And so it's never 3, it's just you with others. And then,
oh, we have done the 3 as well. Yeah. That works really great too.
Loves that too.
That's a wonderful experience too. You know, that's a real, for me, a beautiful divine expression of sexuality. Yeah.
When you can be who you are, enjoying all.
Yes. Enjoying your full balance. For me, because the 3 brings everything together. And that means you have that full experience. It's the best way I can describe it. It's like having every kind of flavor of cake you'd ever want, perfectly mixed together in one beautiful cake. Cherry on top.
Delicious.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And how did you navigate meeting your husband, having these conversations, and discovering that it really worked for him too?
He had actually come from an open relationship previously. His first marriage was an open marriage. And he's always kind of been naturally like that. So there was no real issue. It was, we were actually out for dinner one night and he said to me, "You're bisexual, are you?" And I said, "Yes, I am." "How did you know?" He goes, "I just knew." And so and then the conversations just started from there. So
Wow.
it was really a very beautiful experience. There was no real challenges with it.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
That
Over
probably
time,
was a big part of my healing as well.
tell me, yes, tell me.
No, I was just going to say the sexual component was probably also a very big part of my healing because of the divine energy of that combined in. So,
Yeah, beautiful. Over time, I'll stay connected with you, Alessandra. As I'm developing my partnering app, so 2.5 years ago, when COVID hit, I felt this wave of mental health crisis coming, probably a similar inspiration for you in the book and supporting, consciousness and humanity. And my clients were saying, now more than ever, what really matters are intimate, soulful, beautiful relationships. And I'm having this experience on these different dating apps that as soon as I have that first tough conversation, or we need to lean in, it's uncomfortable, they ghost me, they ditch me. Where are these people that know how to stay open in discomfort, sit in the fire, grow stronger? And I said, I don't know.
I don't think we're making those people anymore, though. I think this is one of the issues. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you there, but I think we're creating a world where people are allowed to hide. I mean, I have been ghosted so many times just for work projects. And it feels like we're teaching the younger generations, or somehow they're teaching themselves, that it's okay just to not face up to the issues. If you have a trigger, deal with the trigger. Don't expect the whole world to adjust themselves for it. That's just.
Well, that's okay. That was, you just get on your soapbox there, Alessandra. That's good.
Sorry.
No, it's good. And so I have a similar point of view. And I said to my clients, okay, so I don't know a dating app that's like this, so I will create one. And then as I started to create it, I realized the structure of dating apps are built on, they make money when we fail at love. So the whole structure is meant to teach more ghosting.
Good catch.
Definitely keep your heart closed. Then you'll come back because you'll find love and it'll last for 3 months and then you'll be back and I'll take your money again.
Exactly.
I said, okay, so I'm going to create a partnering app. It's different. It's not a dating app, it's a partnering app. And within it, there is the dating portion that's still in beta, that's being developed with my team in India. There's intimacy training to teach us how to sit in the fire, integrate, keep our heart open, have this vulnerability with self so we can have it with other, heal any shame around our sexuality, all of that intimacy training. But then we also have these live conscious connection calls where we practice speaking truth.
That's beautiful.
Listening without interrupting, just thank you, like a dyad format. And the depth of the questions that people report to me, I've never thought about asking a question that deep. I never even knew that this was who I am. When we have somebody that listens and doesn't interrupt, we don't have to try to be 3 steps ahead, knowing that they're not even listening and that. But when someone's so present and non-judgment and they listen, you get to actually listen to yourself and discover even more about yourself, and then have it expressed and then have it received. Oh, exquisite. So
it's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. So
Very
this,
beautiful.
so long story short, back to this again, I choose for it to be an inclusive app of gender identification, sexual orientation, and allow people to express in this vulnerable format who they truly are. And so I love that you are who you are. And the conversations were so elegant with your husband when you met, and you both are expressing the truth of who you are in a way that works, which has got to come down to communication.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. Honest communication, openness, and not a fear to communicate either. Because as you said, sometimes it can be hard. Like if you have a truth and you want to share it with someone, but you know they're not going to respond well to that truth, then that can be very challenging. So just creating the safe space for communication is really important.
Yeah. Well, that structure that I teach in the conscious connection calls every week, the rule is, the guidelines are, the structure is when you're asked a question, this person answers, and this one only gets to say thank you, which doesn't even mean they agree. It just means I heard you and I understand. Does it?
I like that. I might take that for a workshop.
Well, you can Google it. I studied, they're called dyads, D-Y-A-D, dyads.
Okay.
And I learned them 15, 20 years ago from Warrior Sage, a company down in Vancouver, actually. So they work, and they were taught by other people. And so it's a wonderful way to create safety, deeper intimacy. And so the listener, when you're like, thank you, like sometimes it's not nice what you just heard, or it hurts, or you want to run out of the room, or you want to interrupt. Like, but we all want this. But if we don't practice, I call it sitting in the fire and integrating all that discomfort back into the center place again, you never do have the ability to have these honest conversations.
It's very true.
Yeah. What is the structure that you and your husband have that makes it safe for the two of you?
We don't really have a structure. We just have created a very safe space. I mean, our relationship is pretty incredible. I'm very, very grateful for it. It's, we spend almost every day, all day together because we work together all day. Yeah. We work at home. So we both work at home together and we're collaborating. And then we spend all evening and all weekend together. So we're quite close knit, and we've just really learned we flow very well. I mean, if there's such a thing as your twin or your other half, this would be it, because he's definitely mine. So.
Oh, that's so lovely. And did you use your sacred sexual energy? We were talking about the masturbation as meditation. Did you use your sacred sexual practice to manifest him? Did you call on purpose and say, I'm ready for someone to share my life with that gets me?
I did, actually. I had left my ex and I was entering into a place where I was ready to actually go out into the world and meet people. And I actually did a full ritual. I did a full moon ritual where I drew a circle, and in the circle, I put everything this man would have to have. And then around the circle, I put all the nice to haves. And then I did this whole ritual around it and included the sexual release. And then I guess it was maybe about a day or two later, I decided I was going to go out for a walk. And I had come home from being out, and I was going out that night, and I usually don't go out a couple times in the day because I thought, but I used to live in downtown Vancouver. And so I was walking down Davie Street. Yeah. And I'm making I was walking down Davie Street and this car pulls up, and I don't ever stop. So I kind of ignored him, and I thought, okay, and then he pulls up again, and then he crosses the street and he comes back and he poses next to it. Like he's posing. And then I'm just like, no. And so I keep walking and I have my head. Oh my God. He pulls up again three times. And then he pulled up again. And he said that was the last time he was going to pull up. But I looked in, and instantaneously something just tweaked within me. And I thought, oh, this is the man. And from there, and about 2 months later, we were in Italy together. We decided to do some traveling, and then we just took it from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was his behavior to do this to women a lot? To follow them and track them with this a thing?
No. That's really funny.
Well, what was his thing the same? He's like, who's that? That feels different.
He had done a ritual. We always argue about who did it first, but because who manifested who, because he had done one in January, and this was in May. That mine was at the end of May or the beginning of June. So so I guess he beat me, but I'm not going to admit that.
No. You manifested it in 2 days or whatever you said.
Exactly. I did the final calling in.
Oh my God, this is delightful. I really look forward next time I come to BC having dinner with the two of you. You sound so amazing.
That would be awesome. We'll go do some wine tasting.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. And so curious about the flow, because I personally don't think I could ever work and live with somebody unless there was an inhale, exhale. Like I'm such a hermit role model. I don't know if you do human design, but like I need to be in my space. I don't think I could do it, but maybe if there's such an elegant flow of in and out, it would work. What do you think contributes to the flow of being able to spend so much time together, but not get on each other's nerves?
I think we just have learned to really read each other. Like, if one of us is a little bit more anxious, we give the other one space, or we'll bring them a cup of coffee or a cookie or something that we've learned to really nurture and read each other. So we are like, I think we fill a lot of different roles for each other.
That's lovely. And would you say the ability to read another, if you can't read yourself?
Right? Yeah. If you can't allow yourself to be seen, no one will ever be able to love you, because they'll never be able to see the real you.
Yes.
So unless you can love yourself and allow yourself out there, no one will know you to love you. So
that's a bumper sticker. Okay. So we want to send them to soulphoria.ca. I'll put all of this in the show notes. I really am so grateful that David introduced us. I'm so delighted by who you are, how you live, the wonderful, sexy titles of your chapter titles of the book. I just love it. Flirtation with the cosmos. I just love to flirt with everybody. This is like fun for me. Like,
well, wait till you flirt with a blade of grass.
Now that I have not tried, that is new. Okay, is that the assignment? That's the homework assignment for that chapter?
No, I'm making I'm going to be making extensions from each part of the book. I'm going to be making a little mini course online for people to do on their own time. Okay. And so that's one of the exercises I want to put in there. Okay. So. Well,
it's good. I've never, like right now I'm living on a property with 9 horses around me.
Well, you can flirt with a horse.
I do. And I do.
Right?
And you know what? They get turned on. The guy horses like me. And they get their thingy that, yeah. And I'm just like, dude, that's hilarious. I'm into sex, but I'm not into sex with a horse. But not to get anybody that is. That's fine. But they are quite turned on by me. It's great. Fun. We headbutt. They're just lovely. They're very human.
Oh, they know you love them. They know that they're loved by you.
I really appreciate them. Yeah, I came here for a healing of my heart after a breakup, and they're so good to me. So very blessed.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, from your beautiful heart to ours, as we complete this interview, what are your final truths, thoughts, feelings, message?
Love yourself and love your moments, love your day. Really love your moments. Like, forget everything else that's stressing you. And in this moment, take a moment, hug yourself, realize if you were healthy enough to sit through this podcast and to make it to this point, take a deep breath and love the fact that you're able to do that. Love yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. So good. There's such an eternity in this moment when we just go right there. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. You're, I feel, yeah. And it's really, it's really beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
So viewers, listeners, my God, what a delicious conversation. So many nuggets. Take a moment when you're done, and whatever really spoke to you, do something about that. If that's the inspiring to flirt with the blade of grass, do that. If it's your meditation, masturbation, do that. If it's journaling, being out in nature, going to say hello to the horsies on your property, whatever it is. But if this conversation could actually create a shift in the trajectory of your life by a different choice, right? The rest of your life will be different because of this. And that would just be so nourishing to both of us, that we could love you and impact you and empower you and let you know, you're not alone. We got you. And we're in this together. And thank you so much for being on the show with us today on Intimate Conversations, Alessandra.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah. Stay with me so I can say officially goodbye to you. And until next time, I love you and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.